Right, 2017 Hyundai Tucson. The tools you're going to need to do the rear brakes. Obviously, you're going to need your rear pads, discs, shoes, whatever you're replacing. Some sort of thing to push back the piston in the caliper. A bar to take off the lock nuts and to tighten the wheels back after, because you definitely don't want to be using impact gun on the lock nuts. I'm using, in this particular case, an extension for a spanner, 14mm spanners, a couple of different screwdrivers, a hammer, a couple of different pliers, an impact gun, and a 21mm socket, some brake clean, which I don't have here at the minute, and I'm trying out this new brake grease from Apex. Actually really good. I like the way it comes out of the tube, nice and handy. So that's what you're going to need to do the job. Also, you're going to need a brake file, a slightly bigger Phillips flat bladed screwdriver, and a light, but preferably not, see how this has a light at the end, so it has like a little thin light. I'll just turn it on. See how that is there? Rather than that big light there, it has the thin one at the top. Something like that with a more of a thinner cone light, because it's a lot easier to adjust the handbrake with that type of light. And welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Now, this is the first time I am doing rear pads, discs and shoes on the back of a Tucson. I've never done it before. I'm doing it for another garage, so they haven't got absolutely everything. They haven't got the fixing kit for the brakes and they haven't got the fixing kit for the shoes, but to be honest, they're absolutely perfect. I've done the other side, and I have to say, this side, now I'm filming it, could completely prove me wrong, but these are the best brake shoes design I have ever seen. Brake shoes, I hate doing them. They take longer, they're annoying, you have to adjust them, they're frustrating. I hate them. They're more expensive because you've got a disc, shoes and a caliper. You've got more components to put into the car that cost more money to keep an upkeep on them. These happen to be from Apex, but why I like these so much is they're completely symmetrical. So in other words, there's not a correct one for it. This will go this way, this one will go this way. Now there is a up and down, but no matter what you do, they're completely symmetrical. So this will work this side, it'll also work this side, and it'll also work the far side. Absolutely brilliant. No handbrake cable on the inside of here, because sometimes that seizes, that's annoying. There's only one spring at the top, one spring at the bottom, one clip at the side. Really easy, and really easy to get to inside here. I'm really impressed. Also, the handbrake cable puller is actually in the middle, mounted separately. Now again, I suppose you could say once it gets older that will seize. I'm not disputing that, but also the ones on the brakes seize as well. So all the actual shoes, they seize as well. But the only thing I have done, and I've done it on the far side and I will be doing it on this side, is I'm knocking off the edge. See that edge there? That edge is quite sharp. So I will be knocking off the edge on the top and knocking off the edge on the far side on the bottom, which is actually this way. So this one and this one. So when it goes here, I'm knocking off the edge here and I'm knocking off the edge there. That will just allow it to seat a lot quicker. And the ones that are in this, they were already done. You could see they were done already. So it's not as if I'm doing anything wrong. So I know a few people are going to be saying, well, you can't do that. You can actually see, look, these brake pads, for example, they're done that way. The edges are knocked off, so they break in a lot easier. If they were square, it'll take longer to break in. This is square, I'm just knocking off the edge. That's all I'm doing. So it's absolutely, perfectly fine. So the first thing you want to do while everything is connected, I always forget to do this, is we need to remove these two screws, Phillips screws. And the easiest way to do it is get a Phillips screwdriver that you can physically hit. Let's get that a little bit more. And what you want to do is, let's get you this side actually. So what you want to do is get this in here. As I'm hitting it with the hammer, I'm spinning it with my hand. And it should just come out nice and easy. Put it in. There we go. Basically what you're doing is you're acting like an impact gun. So you're turning it and hammering it at the same time. Put it in. There we go. You can see the disc was turning, but the shock of the hammer let me release it. It's just a lot easier to do it now while everything's on. And if you're struggling, what you can do is you can take off the caliper and put like a vice grips on the disc, and the carrier will stop it from going any further. But you want to make sure you're replacing the discs. You don't want to be damaging the discs. That will normally damage the disc, but because we're replacing them, it really don't matter. And this spanner extension, because I can't really get anything in there properly because it's quite tight, this spanner extension really comes into its own. 14 mil. Oh, what am I doing? What a tit. It might help if you actually loosen it. There we go. I always look at these bolts to make sure, is there any Loctite on them? There's no Loctite on them, so I'm not going to put Loctite back on them. These are not screw back, they're just push back, which again is really, really nice. I'm just using this. It's a little bit overkill for this, but it's what I had to hand, so that's what I'm going to use. These pliers, they're literally one of the best pliers you'll ever get. I'll show you why in a second. They're not cheap. These are beta ones, so they're not the cheap brand. I know someone that's got the cheap brand and they're terrible, so personally don't go for the cheap brand. The reason why I like these so much, I got a couple of different sizes, is they're not just pliers. As you push that in, look at the bottom. So you can actually get this the same width apart as the brake caliper, and all you've got to do is push that in, and because that acts as like a, you know, it's not straight, it pushes the brake in. They're absolutely brilliant. I love these. I've shown them in other videos. But like I said, they're just not cheap, but they're absolutely brilliant. Now the new brake shoes, or sorry, the new brake pads don't have these little holes for the clips in. And it's not really a big deal. You have to just double check that these ones don't. No, they don't. It's not a big deal. They're not that important. I've done loads of brakes in the past with these, and they just don't really need them as such. I've seen them to break and not cause a problem. I've seen them to rust away and not cause a problem. Now if the new brake shoes had them in, or the brake pads, sorry, I would put them in, but they don't. So I'm not going to. One thing to note is if you look at these brake shoes, I keep saying shoes, brake pads, fucking hell. You got some with 2 little nipples and you got one with none. I'll show you on the new one, it's a lot easier. So the one with no nipples, which is this one, the one with the wear pad, goes to the back, goes to the caliper. Because if you put these 2 little nipples onto the caliper, the piston of the caliper is going to hit, it's going to go off center, and you're going to get massive vibrations and your brakes aren't going to work properly, and they will be absolutely bloody horrible. 14 mil again for the carrier. So this is why I really like this whole brake setup. Everything's the same size, nuts, bolts, it's just so nice. You know, normally the carrier is a different size bolts to the brake. Come on, get off. Is a different size to the caliper and the carrier, and you know, it's just hassle. Where this, it's all the same size. Just a little thing like that makes all the difference. It truly does. And you'll see what I mean about how good the brake shoes are designed. I really like them. I don't like brake shoes, I just like the way these are designed. I think But they're certainly one of the easiest brake shoes I've ever put on, and I think for that reason it just makes them brilliant. And the fact that, like I said, the brake shoes can be put anyway. You know, they're not handed like most of them are. They're completely and utterly the same, which is brilliant. Right, what I need to do is get this disc off. Hopefully it's not. Now, if you're getting this disc off, this one, if I remember, yeah, this handbrake is very bad anyway. So hopefully I shouldn't, and I didn't have to do the other side, I didn't have to adjust the brakes back. This adjuster here, or this hole for the adjuster, you take out the rubber grommet. And at the bottom, I'll show you once I get it off, there's a little thing there to adjust the brakes backwards and forwards. If you were taking them off, you would sometimes have to do that. I'm just going to hit this a few times with the hammer just to see if it comes off. Great, if it doesn't, I'll adjust that. As you can see, I didn't need to. So, absolutely brilliant. Now what I'm going to do is just clear up all that crap first out of there with the airline. Right, so let's just have a look inside here so you can see exactly what I mean. So that's the adjuster for the handbrake, or not the adjuster, sorry, that's what makes the brake shoes come on and off for the handbrake. So that's completely separate to the brake shoes. The adjuster is way down here, which is quite common. You've got just one spring at the top, which, believe me, it looks bad, but it's really easy to get on. One spring at the bottom, which is, just see it in there, which again is really easy to put on. And just two little clips. It's really simple to put it on. And a lot of these cases, you'll see even some of my old videos, depending on the bearing setup, I've always said it's best to take the bearing out to do the brake discs. God, the brake shoes, because it's just, this bearing gets in the way and it's frustrating. In this case, you just don't need to. You can also see, look how these edges were grinded down. Actually, all four of these were. And same under here, look. So it's a common thing, and it just makes them bed in a lot quicker and easier. So there we go. First thing I want to do is get out the adjuster. So you can pull the pads apart and they come up like that to get the adjuster out. When I say pads, I keep calling the bloody disc pads and the pads disc. Right. So the adjuster is now out, which means the bottom is a lot closer, which means the bottom spring will come out with my pin nose pliers. Come on. See it there. There we go, it's the bottom spring off. Now we'll get the other pliers. Keep my finger at the back of the pin here, push down on the clip and twist. But what's normally best to do is have this clip up to the top. Then I don't have to hold the clip, I'm just holding the pin at the back and pushing it down and letting it twist out like that. That will come out. The gloves are getting in the way. Because these particular ones, see how it locks in? So you have to go up through it, twist it, and it locks in that way. They all kind of do that, but some of them have a little spring and a cap, and they can be a lot more fiddly. These are a lot better. So now that's like that. Let's do the other one. Simples. Now what we can kind of do, get a screwdriver back in, push the brake shoe in front of our adjuster. Do the same with the other one. Okay. Hasn't worked like the other side. Anyway, I pushed them both on the other side in front of it, and this came off a lot easier, but of course, because I'm filming, it's going to completely prove me wrong. It doesn't matter. We'll get it off. Like that. Keep a mental note of where all the springs are. Because this spring can go on two ways. You can see, when you look at the spring, how this arm is at the bottom. So this spring can fit that way, but if you fit it that way, it's technically wrong, because look how far this spring is hanging down the bottom of the shoe. See, that's pretty flat there, look. When I turn it the other way, it's sticking halfway down. So just keep a mental note of everything. Take pictures, do whatever you need to do to make yourself, you know, remember. What we need to do is clear off all the grease on these little pads, because we want to re-grease all the pads. Some brake clean. Absolutely typical. Didn't do that on the other side, just came out nice and easy. Anyway. Alright, let's brake clean the hell out of this. Just now, with this brake grease in this tube, first, this is the first job I've used it on. And what I like about it is it squirts out the tube, so you can just put a nice thin bead on whatever you're doing, like that, look, see? It's really nice. I've never used it before, so I don't know, but it's from Apex, it says brake grease, so I mean, has to do with it says on the tin, surely. Right, let me just knock off the corners of this first. Right, as you can see, look, just knocked off the edge. That's all I've done. Very simple. Now, let's put these back on. Oh, put it the right way, Leon, might help, you know what I mean? Right, the other side, nice and easy, no problem. Because I'm filming this, just, you can bet your life, it's not going to go as easy as the other side. And completely and utterly prove everything I said absolutely wrong. Yeah. Unbelievable. Just unfucking believable. There we go. There we go. And glove cut. One in. 3 little lugs at the bottom. Goes in there. What did I do? The drunken sailor. Same thing again. Get this ready. Push down on the clip and twist. Of course. Now the gloves are getting in my way. Oh, this is a fucking joke. So easy before. Like, seriously. Like that. See? Nice and easy. Nice and bloody easy. I was really quite impressed. Now, normally I have a special tool to get these on, which I've shown in old brake videos or brake shoe videos. And when I knew I was doing brake shoes today, I was like, fuck, don't have my bloody tools with me, because these springs can be, you know, really hard. But I have to say, you'll see now, just not. See? Get that, and There we go. I mean, that, for a top spring, how easy was that? Absolutely bloody easy. Now, I'm going to screw the adjuster all the way in. See if I can get you down a bit more. Right, the camera's kind of in my way, so I might knock it and it's going to fall, but... So I'll put that in first. Get that lined up. The top spring's going to keep everything in line for me. And then the bottom spring. Hook it in one end first. Again, get my pin nose pliers. And push it down into there. Now, because I put the clips on up here and the top spring, it kind of keeps it in place for me. But how easy. Anyone that's done brakes, they'll know that that was easy. Come on. Don't disprove me wrong now. Get in. Please. Please. There we go. And there we go. Spring is in, ready to put the disc on and adjust that. And the way you adjust it, you can see this hole here, or any of these holes. There's a bigger hole in the disc that lines up with one of these holes, and you move it until you get to the disc. Then you come in with your screwdriver like that, and you just do this with your screwdriver. Actually, so it's down on this one, it's up on the other one, so on this one it's down, look. As I do that, you'll see the threads start opening up here, which is pushing out the brake shoes onto the actual disc and making them tighter. So I'll show you. Now you can see what I'm doing. You won't be able to see obviously when I put the disc on, but I'll show you how to adjust them. Oh, I can't believe I didn't fucking press fucking record. What a fucking idiot. Oh. Well, lucky enough, I showed how you adjust it. So what I've done is I've just got my little torch, because the little torch has to go in there so you can see the adjuster. Once you've done that, you get your screwdriver in there, you adjust it, fully lock it so it's this cannot move, so it's fully locked, and slacken it back a couple and keep checking it. Every time you slacken it back a couple, make sure you can move it. You want a slight bit of drag on it, just a slight bit. Once you've got that slight bit of drag on it, you know you're good to go. You don't want it too loose, because it's too loose and no drag on it, your handbrake's going to be completely out of whack, and not only that, you can cause a massive vibration, believe it or not. So that slight bit of drag is perfect. You also got to remember, when you put the wheel on, the wheel's going to be a lot easier to move, so it's not going to feel like there's a lot of drag on it, but with your hand it will. I don't want to put the pads on yet, because I just like to know that my drag is coming from my shoes, not my shoes and my pads, because when you put them on there, there'll be a slight little drag from your pads as well, which I don't want. Also, once you're at this stage with both sides, what you want to do is you want to go inside and pull your handbrake up and down, you know, a good 10-15 times, just to make sure everything kind of falls into place, because what can sometimes happen is you can be slightly out of place, and once you put the handbrake on and off a few times, everything can fall back into place, but you might find then that your pad's a bit, or your disc it doesn't feel like there's as much drag on it, so you slightly come back and adjust it again. So I'm going to do that now off camera, and we're going to see if we need to adjust it anymore. Right, exactly what I've just said. Look how more freely that's moving now. So I need to come back and adjust this, so I can do this adjustment on camera this time, rather than just talking to a camera that's not fucking recording. What a muppet. So, let's get my torch, so I can see where the adjuster is, right there. What let's do is tighten this a bit more. Okay, it's gone quite a lot. It's amazing. The other side was fine, but this side, right, what I'll do is I'll do it like I was doing before. So completely lock it. Now, that's completely locked, right? And just go back a couple so you can move it. It's a bit, oh, hold on, is that a bit too much? Yeah, that's a little bit too much. No, hold on. No, that's it. You can hear there's a slight bit of drag on it, not too much. That means our handbrake will be nice. You don't want too much. If you have too much, what's going to happen is these are going to heat up, and then you're going to have brake fade and all sorts of stuff which you don't want. But you don't want it too loose, because then you're trying to adjust more out of the handbrake cables, which is a lot harder than adjusting it here. So what we need to do next is grease these pins. Now the other side were absolutely perfect, just like this side is, look. No problems with, don't need to put them on a wire wheel because they're not rusty, they're not all gunged up. And it looks to be the same grease that's on the pins originally is the same colour grease as what I'm using now. Not that that makes any difference, as long as it's the right brake grease. So I'm just going to put 3 lines. This is another good thing about this, you can actually just put lines on that. 3 lines on it. And also when you're putting it in, twist it, because that'll suck the grease in. It won't make the grease all pile up and squeeze out the top, and it goes in really nice. Do 1 pin at a time, because you'll find on most cars, especially nowadays, look, they've got like a rubber stop on them, and that does need to go back into the same place. So again, that doesn't need wire brushing, just needs a clean and new grease. There we go. Screw that in. Put that on. Bish bash bosh. Perfect. Take these off. Get my brake file. Even though, to be honest, look, they're absolutely perfect, but still. Just clean all inside there. The rust really hasn't. Would be nice to get new ones, but I haven't been supplied with new ones, so again, I could only do what I can do, but I would suggest you to put new ones on. You'll know when if you've got this right, because the new pads will just fall right in. They won't be hard to get in. If the new pads are hard to get in, you've got an issue somewhere. So as long as the pads go in nice and easy, you're kind of good. So let's get them back on. Right, and we can actually check, do the pads go on nice and easy? And look at that, they just fall through. Get it the right way, but that just fell through. So perfect on that side. And the little clip's gone the wrong way on that. Anyway, there's a little clip here that needs to be bent, and it's just gone the wrong way. But I'll do that once I get this back on here, because it's an easier platform to do it when it's screwed into the car, rather than me trying to hold it and screw it in at the same time. Just totally made that worse. Clean part of the rag might help, Leon, you know. Your tit. There we go. Right. Again, there was no Loctite on these bolts, so there's no Loctite going back. Get these snugged. Once they're snugged, we'll get our extension and we'll make them more snug. Come on. Click. It triggers so many people on so many videos that you don't use the torque wrench You don't do this on every single mechanic's video I've ever seen on YouTube. There's always one fucking talk Nazi there thinking he knows his shit, and we all know what they look like. Right, now let's put the pads in. Right, see if we can get you in there. Remember the one with the nipples, I said nipples, not sticking out, and the one with the wear indicator goes on the inboard or the inside. And again, this should go on nice and easy. You're not having to force it, because you can see there, slipped on lovely. If you have to force it or hit it with a hammer or do anything like that, you know you've got an issue. Oh, I had it the right way. Right, we've got an issue here now. What's going on here? Oh, it's not actually on properly. That's what's going on there. Now, there's a little leg that has to sit on the inside of that disc, and that wasn't on properly. And I could have forced that on, and I would have crushed that to pieces, and it just would have caused me issues. So now this should, see that? Go on, absolutely piss easy, sorted. Waiting to see how many people moan, oh, you didn't even hold the caliper up, it was getting pushed by the thing. It wasn't, it was resting there. This wasn't under any sort of pressure whatsoever. You just love YouTube commenters. So once I've done this, that's kind of it. Pads and discs and shoes done. There was no Loctite on these bolts, so I didn't put any Loctite back. One thing you do need to do, because you've done anything with the calipers, is before you push them back like I did, make sure you have the reservoir cap taken off. Also, before you take off, make sure you pump the brakes a few times, because we've pushed them all back. We're going to have no brakes whatsoever. The pedal's going to go all the way to the floor, and believe me, even doing 5 miles an hour, it's fast. Something comes towards you very fast, even at low speed, so just be very careful of that. But as always, just need to give it a good wash now, actually, to be fair. But as always, hope it helps. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Don't forget, links up here, links down below, but most importantly, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted.